So I went to Vegas to watch a bunch of people slap each other in the face again and again. That's it, that's my intro. Hey, I'm Amanda, you're watching Swell Entertainment, and today we are talking about Power Slap, the event they just had in Las Vegas at the Fontainebleau. First and foremost, what you need to know about the Fontainebleau is that they did not serve soft pretzels at a sporting event. What kind of operation are you guys running over there? That's the main thing. I was like, you're gonna buy me a pretzel to my father because I went with my dad and my cousin. My dad did buy the tickets, so I did not pay for these tickets, but the tickets, he said, were $147 a person. And we were quote unquote front row, okay, for the paid section. My dad also is the one who took me to the rematch of the Logan Paul versus KSI fight way back when. So it's his fault that I like being close to people beating the out of each other, frankly. But really quick, let me tell you about the sponsor for today's video, Bombas. Now, whether you are like me and spend a good chunk of your time wandering around conventions or not, we all wear socks because we all wear shoes. Please be wearing socks. God, please be wearing socks with your shoes. Please tell me you are wearing socks with your shoes. Anyways, if you want to wear some, Bombas has a great selection of socks and other products so that you can find the perfect match for whatever your lifestyle may need. Bombas is a comfort-focused premium basics brand with a mission to help those in need. When Bombas launched, they found that socks are the #1 most requested items in homeless shelters, and so when you buy a pair, one gets donated as well. They've currently donated over 150 million items. Obviously, because I travel so much, I'm flying quite a bit, but also I've been doing some long road trips, so I got some of their performance compression socks. I also got some of their all-purpose performance and lightweight performance socks. And because I keep telling myself I'm going to get back into running, it's a work in progress, I still refuse to join a run club, I also got some of their performance running socks. My personal favorite part, but also the most annoying part about Bombas, is you're really gonna get used to the no-toe seam. And it's gonna ruin every other sock brand for you. Apologies in advance. Bombas now also ships internationally and has a 100% happiness guarantee. Look good, feel good, and do good with Bombas. Go to bombas.com/swell and use code SWELL20 to get 20% off your first purchase with Bombas. And thank you again to Bombas for sponsoring this video. So a couple months ago, he was like, hey, there's a power slap competition. We gotta go watch people slap each other, because I took my dad to chess boxing at Mogul Money in LA what feels like 9,000 years ago, okay? And for those of you who don't remember, chess boxing, which was put on by Ludwig and all that, at the end of that, Ludwig and Sea Dog actually ended up challenging each other to chess slap fighting. And there was this whole thing later because neither of them had ear protection, so they easily could have destroyed each other's eardrums. My dad loved the whole chess boxing event. He was like, this is really well done. He also really liked Jerma's commentating, because Jerma was like the one in the ring doing all the announcing and stuff. He's like, he's really good. So when my dad found out there was a slap fight event happening in Vegas, which my dad loves Vegas, that was actually put on by the UFC, he was like, we have to go. So bought 3 tickets, tried to bring a couple of my friends. None of them could make it. So we brought my cousin. So as you guys know, I review a lot of sporting events, and I also like just attending sports for funsies. So I have a Substack where I review sporting events that I go to, and I have taken to reviewing soft pretzels at sporting events on these platforms. Okay, understandably, I love a soft pretzel. I always get one at any sporting event. And so for me to go to the Fontainebleau to watch people slap each other in the face, okay? And then to not be able to get a pretzel, but then also see pretzels in the VIP area where people could get pretzels, I was devastated. I did get some sick nachos. Shout out to the employee that ditched up my nachos. You did a brilliant job. I don't know if it's because I was the first one there for the night or what, but you did a great job. It was like chicken, avocado crema, like refried beans, all the stuff. It was delicious. Okay, shout out. They were warm. They were hot. So good. Okay, I was hungry and I wanted a pretzel and there wasn't one. I need you guys to step your game up if you want to be, you know, a spot for events like this. You need a soft pretzel that I, as a paying attendee, can get. All right, I am now hunting for food. There's food inside the main hall venue area, but that seemingly is only for the VIP area. So, okay, I think it said refreshment sign over here. Let's see what they got. So the overall venue itself was separated in 2 halves, basically. So we had the section where we were in, which was the paid section, and there were some VIP sections in this as well. But the other side was entirely VIP and invited guests, and I'm assuming people that spent like an extra metric fuckload of money for those seats. And on that side, I kept looking over there because they kept showing off who was there. And my dad likes to think I'm more famous than I am, which is being a father, but he was like, you should be over there. And then I saw who was over there, and I was really glad I wasn't over there because I would have been a problem. Also, they were barely watching the fight, and that ticks me off. When I go to a thing as like a VIP or something, like when I'm invited to events and things like that, I want to watch the thing I'm invited to. Okay, this was me at the Chargers game. I was like standing there, and there was most of the people were watching the game. Okay, I will say that when I went to the Chargers game, but there were a couple people who were just like I'm not even saying like the influencers were taking photos. I'm not talking about that. It's just like the talking and not watching the thing. This happened a lot when I went to the LA Kings game when I used to go to the Prime suite before I think I ticked off Prime at some point. Who knows? Okay. I look over the slap fight, okay, and fights are happening. Like the matches are going, the bouts are bouting, okay? And I look over and there's just a clump of people. You know what the clump of people was? The fucking Tate brothers were there. I probably would have been arrested. There was a ring between us. I was like, that's smarter. And then I did see them later walking through with their big security guards and their hordes of fans following them, walking through the lobby after the match. Why aren't you guys in jail? Anyways, I'm gonna move on with my day. So yeah, glad I wasn't over there. I would have been a problem. But there was like Bert Kreischer, Theo Vaughn. I kept seeing like a handful of people in that area. And then they kept showing off like YouTubers and influencers and by their Instagram followers, which I always find very funny when they do that. Like here's who it is. Here's how many followers they have. In case you don't know they're important or not. I always find that very funny. So obviously I've seen a couple of videos of slap tournaments and things like that. And I had thought about going to one for a while, but this was just the one that was like just the easiest for me to go to at this point. And power slap is like the thing right now is my understanding. Okay. And so the thing with power slap that I very much liked about being here, because we were in the third row, which was essentially the front row because the first two rows were actually invited guests of various fighters. It looks like we were in the row, handful of people. Okay. Lots of fighters around, hanging around us. There was someone with a slap belt also on this side, which interesting to see where people are sat at events like this because I'm nosy. With the fighting world, I feel like it's always a mix of things of like who's in whose good graces at what time, who's getting money from who, and who is in whose pocket at what time. Not to say that as a whole genre, it's like a very like insidious thing or anything like that. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm not saying that it's merit-based all the time is all I'm gonna say, okay? I love when fighters have nicknames. A lot of fighters do, obviously, okay? But the slappers, like, they all had nicknames, which I did like. And so how do I just go about this? Do I just go by fight? We got a lot of slap fights, okay? And what was fascinating is because there would be, you could never really tell who would win what. I think 80% of our fights, though, were knockouts. I would say that's a good percentage. We had multiple, based on what they said, broken wrists. Because what happens, and this is what I think happens, okay, because there is like a 2 for flinching rule, which was seemingly not always enforced the best. My main thing with this for like complaints would be like, I want a little tighter use of the regulations on times, because there were certain sides, especially with where we were, because we were slightly to the angle for one of the corners, where you could see the flinching a lot more, and then they would do replays with the flinching, and I'm like, that's a clear flinch, and then they wouldn't enforce the flinching rule is what it seems like, which was essentially 2 for flinching. If you flinch, they would just do like -1 for flinching. Okay, minus a point or something like that. No, -1 was not for a point. It was... No, yeah, because then they switched it. So on some instances, I would assume -1 was that they got to miss a turn, and then therefore it looks like a 2 for flinching because they're missing 1, okay? But then there were times where they would just go on to the next bout, and I'm like, okay, what's the point then of they would say -1. I feel like there needs to be a little tighter, little tighter, okay? Because overall, very well orchestrated, very well done, obviously. This is fucking fighting. And so there would be instances where they would do the replay, and I'm like, that's a flinch. Like, just very clear, like from the slap, okay? Very clear, very obvious. Which, side note, it's hard not to flinch when you're doing something like this. That's one of the first things you start learning when you're fighting, is to learn to not flinch, because the human reflex when something's coming at your face is to flinch. Okay. Same with animals. It's the same thing. Something coming at flinch. Like it's a natural reflex. So a lot of fighters, when you start training, you're actively trying to train away from that instinct, which you could very clearly tell who had worked on that and who hadn't. What I thought was very interesting was the girls took the slap way better. So we had one girl bout. They had crazy power behind their slaps, but I feel like they both ate the slaps way better, which I did like that everyone was doing this every time they ate a slap. Very fun. I love goofy shit. What can I say? I want more women to get into slap fighting because I do want to know, I want more research done on this. Because like a lot of fights, okay, which if you've been in a fight, which I've totally have never been in a fight. There's an earthquake happening as I'm filming this. That's a big earthquake. We're upstairs. Hermes, you good? We're good. It's shaking. It's a long one. Still going. Still going. Still going. Still going. That was a long one. Usually they're not that long. They haven't been that long lately. No, but I'm really curious because with women, I feel like when we start fighting and as teenagers, okay, if we start fighting, which I'm a princess, so I've obviously never fought, I feel like slapping is the thing that we go for. Usually, I feel like instinctually, it's like you go for the slap versus the punch, okay, until you get older and then you realize that going for the throat does more damage. I didn't say that. That's not on record. I feel like you get slapped once or twice in your life as a girl, okay? Versus like guys. I mean, guys get slapped too. But I don't know. I feel like we're just like, I don't know. Is this a biology thing where we're just more easier for us to like take it? Because like both of them were slapping the shit out of each other. But I feel like they were dealing with the slap better than some of the guys. They were both getting the shit slapped out of each other. And like there was a couple of times where it was like, okay, you know, good one, whatever. But like some of the guys, it would be like, they'd get slapped and it would be like, you could tell it rocked them. And like, obviously there's a different level of force, especially with some of the guys were huge. We got heavyweights, welterweights, lightweights, you know, all of that. I'm so curious. Do we have enough women doing slap fighting right now that we could measure that? Probably. Where it's like the actual like recovery time from the slaps. I want sports sciences to get involved in more things with women because I feel like there's so many different elements. Like we just have that new announcement coming out, that new study happening with like women's injuries, specifically I think with ACLs in women athletes because like ACL injuries are more common in women athletes. I believe. I'm thinking. I'm just a goblin on the internet, okay? I'm not... I have an English degree, okay? But I like knowing things, okay? And that's where I'm like, do you need funding? What do we need to make these research things happen? I'm so curious. But anyways... Fighting. The injuries would be crazy though. At one point, one of the guys were like, if you don't have a jaw, if you can't take the slap, you're not going to do well in the sport. One of the guys did. And I was like, I don't know. Because I feel like if you have the chin, you can potentially injure your opponent because that happened a few times. There was one fight where one of the guys was literally went by the name the Colossus because he's 6'7", which that's not a real height. My brain doesn't compute that height. I'm like, okay, you're tall. At a certain point, you're just tall, you know? Like there's no height there, okay? 6'7". And then his opponent was 6'1". Looked tiny next to him. Because again, 6'7" is not a real height. Fictitious height. Book talk romance height, okay? Doesn't make sense. When he flinched at one point, okay, which he got a 2 for flinching, which he even acknowledged, I flinched. He's like, I did that. I think that's where the other guy broke his wrist. I'm going to blank on all the names. I think it was Wes. Because you measure. Every time you go up, you measure. You go, hey, what's your count? Which hand? What's your count? You choose your hand. Which, that's the other thing. We're going to talk about this right now. I think you have to stick with whichever hand you come to the ring with. I know that disqualifies a lot of the matches I'm about to discuss, but I think you have to stick with the hand that you walk in with. It's my non-dominant hand. Doesn't matter. I think it's the same thing as like switch hitting, switch pitching. I think you have to stick with the at-bat. I think you have to stick with it. I'm just saying. Because then I think we'd have a lot of different bouts happening in different ways. Now, was it really cool to see that someone breaking their wrist did not mean the fight was over and then those people went on to win? Yes. I don't know. Because then what if the other guy's like, I'm also going to switch hands. And then he's got, you know, maybe he was training the other one, but now this one's not tired. This hand's not stinging the same. Boom. You know, like I just feel like a little more regulation, maybe. We'll see. So they would say, what's your count? So they'd be like, right on one, make sure you measure. Okay. So that's where so you do your measure, put your hand to your face. That's the measure. And then boom, go. Okay. Or on 3 where you go 1, 2, which the 3 feels like I would stress me out more because I know it's coming. Okay. On 1, I just close my eyes and make sure you don't notice and just get slapped the shit out of and avoid the flinching. Okay. But you know, the flinch happened, measured on 1, boom, hits his wrist a little high. Okay. But that made his wrist snap against his jaw. Not visually broken, okay, from what I could see on camera. But there's a lot of things happening in here, okay? So I think it was just a, you know, type of thing. He then switches hands and still wins. Cool as fuck. Also, still feel like, but then also it's like, because he's also tall, because flinch, okay? And then they did the 2 for flinching. But sometimes, again, I feel like we just weren't consistent in that. One of the fights that I liked because they really annoyed me, Anthony DeFrank and Riley Montoya. lightweight match. One of them went by the King, came out in a crown because I was right by the walkout area, so I went to the thing. So if you rewatch this match on YouTube, which I think is still available, you'll probably see me in the background of some of the walkouts potentially because I'm right there. He came out with a crown and was bouncing around, being all crazy, flexing, all this stuff, okay, which quite a few people did, which fine if you can then back it up, which the other one went by Slap Shady and came out to Eminem. He just came out very composed, very locked in. And that, frankly, as someone who's been to a lot of different fights of different things, I feel like that's scarier. Like that's a little bit more intimidating. I'm like, oh shit. Surely something's about to happen here. The other ones that stress me out, the ones that come out all calm and praying, keep pointing up to the sky. Okay. I'm like, oh, he might send someone to God right now. I'm not even religious like that. Okay. But I'm just like, oh, he's prayed for forgiveness already for what he's about to do. Low-key terrifying. So the King came out bouncing around, being all hectic. And I'm like, he's about to get his shit rocked. Like you can just tell sometimes. Sometimes they can deliver. Oftentimes they can't when they do the showboating thing. He won the coin toss, gets to Slap Shady. Slap Shady just takes it. Terrifying. The King was obviously talking shit too. Slap Shady. Comes back. Okay. Instant knockout. The knockouts are fascinating because sometimes there's usually a stumble back, okay, with a knockout. In slap fighting, what happens more often is they just drop like a sack of potatoes. They had what I wish they used this more. They had a chin cam for some of these knockouts. So the King, they played the chin cam where he got slapped. It's a camera like right down here at the base of the slap. You want multiple angles, obviously, for slaps, for regulations and things like that. Great. I wish you relied on this chin angle more because it was diabolical to see the slap and then see him just crumple. It's not the best quality of footage, I will say, but it's a really good angle. I wish, can we get a fisheye lens or something, like a wide angle lens right down there, you know, just because you just see what it does to their jaw. I think a lot better with the underlings, which obviously if you see the front, you can see like the lips move, you can see the eye move, all that, which I felt like overall, because a lot of them kept getting their eyes messed with. Okay, which understandable, you're getting slapped in the face. They were very on top with medical and having people come up and check and like pausing the fights and things like that to have medical come check to clear them to continue to slap, which I do think is good. No one threw the fight. There was a couple of times where people got knocked out. They tried to get back up and they couldn't. That happened quite a bit. And so it just crumples like a rock and just out. And then Slap Shady was good because he just started flipping him off. I have it on camera. It's so good. He like, the King is on the ground. Slap Shady walking around and then goes back, does another loop. After he had been so composed, you know it felt good. Christopher Thomas and Christopher DeBow, I think it was Thomas won this one. The guys around me kept calling him Flinch Thomas because I do think he had a flinch that should have been counted, but it wasn't. And then he knocked out DeBow. Like that's the kind of the thing where I feel like some of these flinches should have been counted because I do think it would have changed the course of the match. Some went the distance. Perez and Pau, I think, went the distance. Paige Van Zant and Michael Michelle Brown, they went the distance. I think Michael Michelle Brown, I think that was her first fight she was saying. And then Paige Van Zant is like defining the category essentially with power slap. Great bout. And one of the ones where I was just like, ooh, okay, yeah, I think we might be better at taking slaps. I'm just saying, I think women might be better at taking slaps. I want to know the science. I want to see the science. I don't know how we would measure this, but I think some sports science, I think we need to study. Then we had Robert Trujillo and Dakota McGregor, which lightweight title match, which McGregor, I think, had knocked out. And then we had Quinones and Bordeaux. This is another one where I think the wrist broke. Oh no, this was the nose. This is where his nose broke. Nose broke and then still won, I think. And this was the second rebout. Okay. And this one also knockout. And then Bordeaux was like, yeah, we're doing this again. Let's go again. Now we got the third fight. truly prove who won. We need a trilogy going. Good fight all around. Fascinating to be there for this. The night moves along very quickly because like you're expecting a little bit knockout. I also really like they have a count for the rounds, which is essentially, I kept comparing it to the pitch clock because I love the pitch clock. Whoever came up with it, brilliant. You deserve kisses and beer because the game moves faster now. It's great. Love it. Okay. They basically have that as well. Like to not give yourself too much recovery time before you go on to the next slap, which I do think is smart to do because then you just have someone who's like, but wait, I need to, no, it's, the physics aren't ready. We got to go get more baby powder. Got to go. No. And then now he's fully recovered and has his senses about him after just getting the shit slapped out of him. Smack. Other person, you know, you get my point. I like the hey, get to your fucking position. Oh, also they hold it's like a stick of foam behind them, and then they also have like the main ref watching it, and then they have the people behind them to catch them when they fall, which I do think is smart because there's no ring to hold them in if they fall back or stumble, which I do think is good because you can see more of the slap, but it's also like then when you're this close to the stage, like the ring, like we were, it was a little harder. Is this even a ring? I guess no, just a podium platform. Which side I did like that the podium, they changed who was on which side, like it was a digital screen format. That was cool. You could see more of it then because there's people on the stage, obviously, for them. It's harder to see that. And then the screens were not as good as I would have liked them to be, the screen coverage. Better for people that were behind us, definitely. But with where we were, I do think you needed to use more of the screen, more screens, maybe one more. All in all, would I go again? Yeah, this was fucking insane. This was crazy. I would just like more regulation, but I also want more information on the science of slapping. Because like, obviously there's certain things that you experience as the fighters experience, like from their own experience, where it's like, who is working on what muscles when? Are you working on neck strength? Because I feel like you want to work on neck. I almost feel like you should train your neck the way that drivers do with like Formula One drivers, because like obviously you're getting a lot of force. You want to make sure your neck's not being knocked to the side, because some of them didn't fucking move. And I'm like, oh, you've been working on neck strength, you know? So I'm really curious. Are you doing jazzercise? Is that what you're doing? Or are you working on your neck strength? Are you working on building up your cheekbones? Because yes, obviously I feel like people that have more like cheeks, like bigger cheeks, okay, like rounder faces, I feel like you'd take it better. But then I also don't know, because then is there a reverberation inside your skull because, you know, you got more shock absorption, but where is that going, you know? Versus the ones that have like the lightweights, obviously dealing with less facial weight, etc., dealing with like that, they probably feel that a lot more inside their skull. The women fights was crazy. But see, that's me as well. Like I like seeing the women fights. I just feel like there's the frequency of punches, at least from my view, looks higher. Like there's another creator clash happening, and I'm very excited to see the women's fight, which I know some of the women fighting, which is always very fun for me. One thing that I think is a very big thing that I noticed going to a lot of boxing events now is you can tell who has been really focusing on sparring and cardio and who hasn't, okay? Because especially with the creator-based fighting matches that I've been going to, quite a lot of the times, someone has really been working on the strength of their punches, but not prepared for fights to go to the distance. They're like, I'm going to knock so-and-so out within one round. We're going to get a KO. And then they don't, okay? Because that person has been working on, you know, dealing with punches, taking punches better, but also working on cardio. And so the person who no one thought was going to win wins simply because they were more prepared to go the distance with the fight and to wear out the other fighter. And so, but that's not something that happens here because this is slapping. You're not moving around a ring. It's interesting. Okay. Anyways, that's really going to be it. I'm so intrigued by this whole sport. I'm excited to see it grow further, you know, because I want to see more. A reminder, I stream on Twitch. Reminder that Swell Entertainment is now available on Spotify. Reminder to use code Swell for 10% off on gamer subs. Shout out to my channel members. If you've also joined me on channel memberships, you can go ahead and click join down below. If you'd like to find on social media, that'll be all up here. And that's gonna be have a lovely day. Slap you later. Bye. Too many times an earthquake has happened in LA. And I mean, there's definitely been earthquakes that happen while I'm filming, but usually the camera's not rolling while there's an earthquake. So now you guys got earthquake footage. Bye.